Morlock, Morrell, Wynn, Nilsson, Pan, Pavley, Roth, Runner, Stone, Vidak, Wykowski, Wolk.
The Secretary notices the absence of a quorum. Will members please report to the floor for today's floor session? Mr. Secretary, please call the roll.
Allen, Anderson, Bates, Bell, Berryhill, Block, Cannella, De Leon, Fuller, Gaines, Galgiani, Glazer, Hall, Hancock, Hernandez, Hertzberg, Hill, Hueso, Huff, Jackson, Latta, Leno, Leyva, Liu, McGuire, Mendoza, Mitchell, Monning, Morlock, Morrell, Wynn, Nilsson, Pan, Pavley, Roth, Runner, Stone, Vidak, Wykowski, Wolk.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. He notices the presence of a quorum. Members and our guests beyond the rail and in the gallery, will you please rise? We'll be led in prayer this morning by our guest chaplain, Imam Hazim Rashid, who is the Imam at Masjid As-Sabor, which is the oldest predominantly African-American mosque in Greater Sacramento. After which, please remain standing. We will be led in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag by Senator Pan.
Distinguished senators, guests, members of the dais, and the public that allows us all to serve, we greet you. We greet you, as is our tradition, with the name of God. Peace be upon you. Assalamu alaikum. Let us please bow our heads. Today, you as leaders of our state face numerous challenges that affect the future of our citizens. As you face these challenges, there are two things we ask you to consider. First, as Helen Hoover says, man thinks of himself as a creator instead of a user, and this delusion is robbing him of the earth. Let us remember we are stewards of God's earth and not the creators of this earth. Your work as stewards determines all of our futures. Second, the Holy Quran has a phrase that is often repeated: which of the favors of your Lord will you deny? This is from a chapter called Rahman and is repeated 41 times. This is a reminder of the need for us as human beings to be aware of and grateful for the simple blessings, like water and air, that God has given us. Let us all remember to be grateful for all things that our Lord has blessed us with. In closing, we ask God's mercy and guidance for all your deliberations and decision-making. Amen.
Of the United States of America and
for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Privileges of the floor. Colleagues, privileges of the floor. Seeing none, we'll move on to messages from the governor. They will be deemed read. Messages from the assembly will also be deemed read. Reports of committee will be deemed read and amendments adopted. Motions, resolutions, and notices. Seeing none, we'll proceed on to introductions and first reading of the bills. First reading, bills are deemed read. Consideration of the daily file. Second reading file, Mrs. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 680 with amendments, 514 with amendments, 547 with amendments, 648 with amendments, 247 with amendments.
They will be deemed read. Senate third reading. We'll begin with file item 50. Senate Resolution 55. That's right, sorry. We'll pass on file. File item 51, SB 6, Senator Galgiani. Pass. File item 52, Senate Bill 24, Senator Hill. Mr. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 24 by Senator Hill, enacting to public employees' retirement.
Senator Hill.
Thank you, Madam President and members. SB 24 resolves a pension problem that's preventing the cities of San Mateo, Belmont, and Foster City from completing their joint powers agreement for shared fire service. It's identical to last year's bill by Senator Huff that was signed into law and allowed fire services in the cities of Fullerton and Brea. This bill allows 3 cities in my district to provide the JPA employees a defined benefit plan that those employees received as classic CalPERS members from their previous employment from the cities. SB 24 is supported by the San Mateo County firefighters and the California professional firefighters, as well as the cities of San Mateo, Belmont, and Foster City. I respectfully ask for aye vote, members.
Thank you very much. Are there is there any discussion or debate? Any discussion or debate? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Allen. Aye. Anderson. Bates. Bell. Aye. Berryhill. Block. Aye. Canella. Aye. De Leon. Fuller. Gaines. Galgiani. Glazer. Aye. Hall. Aye. Hancock. Hernandez. Aye. Hertzberg. Aye. Hill. Aye. Hueso. Aye. Huff. Aye. Jackson. Aye. Lara. Aye. Leno. Aye. Leyva. Aye. Liu. Aye. McGuire. Aye. Mendoza. Aye. Mitchell. Aye. Monning. Aye. Morlock. No. Morrell. Wynn. Aye. Nilsson. Pan. Aye. Pavley. Aye. Roth. Aye. Runner. Stone. Vidak. Aye. Wachowski. Aye. Wolk.
Call the absent members, please.
Anderson. No. Bates. Berryhill. Aye. De Leon. Aye. Fuller. Gaines. No. Galgiani. Aye. Hancock. Morrell. No. Nilsson. Runner. Stone. Wolk.
Ayes 29, noes 4, the measure passes. File item 53, Senate Bill 215. Mr. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 215 by Senator Leno, enacting to the Public Utilities Commission.
Senator Leno.
Thank you, Madam President. Colleagues, the mission statement of the California Public Utilities Commission includes, quote, serving the public interest by protecting consumers and ensuring the provision of safe, reliable utility service and infrastructure at reasonable rates. Unfortunately, the PUC has clearly lost its way from that very admirable mission statement. In fact, the Commission's actions in regard to the San Bruno pipeline explosion and the San Onofre nuclear plant closing have revealed a culture of coziness with the utilities that fails to protect public safety and ratepayer interests. For the past couple of years, I've been working with my seatmate and colleague, Senator Hueso, on a number of bills. One, SB 660, which passed both houses of the legislature unanimously, but unfortunately was one of 6 bills dealing with CPUC reform, which were vetoed by the governor. This bill, very similar to 660, is different in a couple of ways. And just to remind you, this bill will firstly create new standards for considering whether a commissioner should be recused for bias or prejudice. Secondly, the bill sets new rules for ex parte communications between CUP regulators and the companies that they regulate. With regard to the San Onofre nuclear plant closure, there was a memo found through some meetings that dealt directly with ex parte communications in the city of Warsaw. Thirdly, the bill clarifies the penalties for violating ex parte rules and gives the Attorney General the authority to bring enforcement actions in the Superior Court, so it will not just be the CPUC regulating itself. So I would ask, not dissimilar to the unanimous support that we had for SB 660, that we pass this bill today. I acknowledge that we are in ongoing communications with the administration to find where we can identify some common ground. Clearly, the Commission is in need of reform one way or the other. We must make sure that they do. I ask for your aye vote.
Senator Hueso.
Thank you, Madam President. Senators, as the chair of the Senate Energy, Utilities, and Communications Committee, it is my pleasure to work with the great Senator Mark Leno on this very much-needed reform bill. Now, bear in mind, reform is needed in this area. We need to inject a dose of transparency into the PUC at this time. I think in California, there's been a certain erosion in the public's confidence in their government and the PUC. And because of the way this agency functions, we need to open the doors to the public and let them participate in this process and ensure that there's some level of transparency or a greater amount of transparency than we currently have. Unfortunately, last year's bill was vetoed, and we need the governor's participation in this. We understand the concept of inviting the public into the process and the committee hearings that we have, the public hearings that we have, and that needs to be made more accessible to people of our community. So thank you very much, and I hope this bill is sent to the governor unanimously with the unanimous support of the legislature. This is our job to do, and I hope that we all join forces to support more transparency in government. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Is there any further discussion or debate? Any further discussion or debate? Hearing and seeing none, Mr. Secretary, please call the roll. Senator Leno, please forgive me. Would you like to close?
Thank you, Madam President. Colleagues, I ask for your aye vote.
Mr. Secretary, now please call the roll.
Allen. I. Anderson. I. Bates. Bell. I. Berryhill. I. Block. I. Canella. I. De Leon. I. Fuller. I. Gaines. I. Galgiani. I. Glazer. I. Hall. I. Hancock. I. Hernandez. I. Hertzberg. I. Hill. I. Wesso. I. Huff. I. Jackson. I. Lada. I. Leno. I. Leva. I. Liu. McGuire. I. Mendoza. I. Mitchell. I. Monning. I. Morlock. Morrell. I. Wynn. I. Nilsson. Pan. I. Pavley. Roth. I. Runner. I. Stone. I. Vidak. I. Wykowski. I. Wolk.
Call the absent members, please.
Bates. Liu. Morlock. I. Nilsson. I. Pavley. I. Wolk.
Call the absent members, please.
Bates. Liu. Wolk.
Ayes 37, no 0. The measure passes. File item 54. Senate Bill 384. Senator Leyva. Mr. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 384 by Senator Leyva, enacting to veteran housing.
Senator Leyva.
Thank you, Madam President. Good morning, members. SB 384 requires a percentage of state funds awarded for veterans housing to be reserved for housing for our most underserved veterans, those veterans who have very limited housing options when returning from active duty. For single-parent veterans, for example, both male and female, finding adequate housing is near impossible. More than 60% of transitional housing providers who serve women do not house children. A recent report by the U.S. Government Accountability Office found that women veterans identifying themselves as homeless has more than doubled, increasing by 140% from 2006 to 2010. As many of you may know, many of these women also suffer from military sexual trauma. For these women, housing in facilities that overwhelmingly house male veterans poses serious safety and privacy risks. SB 384 provides flexibility to ensure that entire facilities can house our most underserved veterans, such as females with children. This bill requires the California Department of Veterans Affairs to work with local agencies to determine the appropriate amount of funds that should be reserved for this unique population. This bill has no opposition, and I respectfully request your aye vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Any discussion or debate? Senator Stone.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to compliment my senator from Chino Hills area in bringing this forward. I think it's catastrophic that veterans anywhere in this country are finding themselves homeless. I fully support the percentage of Prop 41 monies to help especially women with families find shelter, and I hope that this is the beginning of our zero tolerance for having any homeless veterans in the state of California and setting a national example of how we treat our veterans. Thank you, Senator.
Senator Nielsen.
I'd like to thank the author for carrying this legislation. It is a priority of the Veterans Committee this year to do things additional to serve this population of veterans. The numbers are growing, and it is a group that really does deserve some attention. They are suffering out on our streets. And having sacrificed for our country, we need to give them a little extra boost. I urge an aye vote.
Any further discussion or debate? Any further discussion or debate? Hearing and seeing none, Senator Leyva, would you like to close?
Just respectfully ask for an aye vote. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Please call the roll.
Allen. I. Anderson. I. Bates. Bell. I. Berryhill. I. Block. I. Cannella. I. De Leon. Fuller. I. Gaines. I. Galgiani. I. Glazer. I. Hall. I. Hancock. I. Hernandez. I. Hertzberg. I. Hill. I. Hueso. Huff. I. Jackson. I. Lara. I. Leno. I. Leyva. I. Liu. I. McGuire. I. Mendoza. I. Mitchell. I. Monning. I. Morlock. I. Morrell. I. Wynn. I. Nilsson. I. Pan. I. Pavley. I. Roth. I. Runner. I. Stone. I. Vidak. I. Wachowski. I. Wolk. Hueso, aye.
Call the absent members, please.
Bates. De Leon. I. Wolk.
Ayes 38, no 0. The measure passes. File item 55, Senate Bill 512. Mr. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 512 by Senator Hill, enacting to the Public Utilities Commission.
Senator Hill.
Thank you, Madam President. Members, SB 512, along with SB 215 by Senators Leno and Hueso, that we just voted on previously, is one of the Senate's 2 Public Utilities Commission reform bills that you will vote on this week. The bill contains a number of provisions from SB 48 that was vetoed in October. Among them are requirements for performance metrics for the PUC and its executive director, the clarification that the PUC administrative law judges are subject to the Administrative Adjudication Code of Ethics, and the requirement that the PUC reach out broadly to interested parties before opening a rulemaking. What are not in the bill are provisions related to judicial review of the PUC for Open Meeting Act and Public Records Act purposes, as I am currently discussing this issue with the governor's office. I respectfully ask for aye vote, members.
Thank you. Any discussion or debate? Any discussion or debate? Hearing and seeing none, Mr. Secretary, please call the roll.
Allen. I. Anderson. I. Bates. Bell. I. Berryhill. I. Block. I. Cannella. I. De Leon. I. Fuller. I. Gaines. I. Galgiani. I. Glazer. I. Hall. I. Hancock. I. Hernandez. I. Hertzberg. I. Hill. I. Hueso. I. Huff. I. Jackson. I. Lara. I. Leno. I. Leyva. I. Liu. McGuire. I. Mendoza. I. Mitchell. I. Monning. I. Morlock. I. Morrell. I. Wynn. I. Nilsson. I. Pan. I. Pavley. I. Roth. I. Runner. I. Stone. I. Vidak. I. Wachowski. I. Wolk.
Ayes 37, no 0. The measure passes. File item 56, Senate Bill 527.